and welcome back to Late Night Lately, the late night show. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the Late Night Show podcast for the website, seedlesscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Happy Monday. Unfortunately, I meant to record this on Friday. I do my best to record things on time. It snowed in Atlanta. I took the dog outside. I let the cat hang out on the porch for a little bit. I had a nice time. All right, sue me. Don't sue me. Also, you can't sue me. I have diplomatic immunity. I don't know. Welcome back in to Late Night Lately. Here we are, first episode of the new year. I just realized I misspelled Jimmy Kimmel. I'm sorry, I was looking at this and I've misspelled his name. Put an E in there. I'll let you decide where. Late night returned. And as with these things, news is both slow and a little bit jam-packed because of, we have a new incoming president. And he's going to do such a great job. This is what people wanted when I guarantee there's some people out there who, because I saw it online. I saw this type of thing said online that they just voted for a different way just so they could see what the comedy people would say. That's not what I want. I say that the news was slow and jam-packed mostly because these shows have been off the air for 2-3 weeks, maybe. And they come back and things have happened in that time period. I have a pimple right here. Things have happened in that time period. But sometimes things happen and then as like a culture, as like the human race, we forget that these things happen. And then you're reminded of them and you go, oh boy, wait a minute. And it's interesting to see those things and see what they pick and choose to talk about, and then also what they choose to call back to several weeks from now when that information is still is pertinent again. Let's get into the minutia. I want to go in the opposite. Oh, God, I should have planned this out better. Okay, I have to do some rearranging, and as I do so, I'm going to be talking about nothing. Okay, we're done. I'm finished. This week in late night, I would say everybody did their best because one news story really became apparent, and it was the Palisades fire. Excuse me, not just the Palisades fire. The 426. I believe I saw a number that was 6. I believe that it was 6 fires, but between 4 and 6 fires that sprung up in the Los Angeles area, and they were exacerbated, obviously, but if you don't know this by now, but they were exacerbated by the Santa Ana winds. So a lot of shows covered it. Like on The Daily Show, they covered, Desi Lydic in particular covered the fires pretty much all week long. And then there was also Jimmy Carter's funeral. And then there was a great congestion pricing piece that my friend Josh Johnson handled. Okay. I'm sorry, I was typing at the same time because I completely forgot to type that down. Anyway, Matt Rogers fell down a bunch of stairs. He appeared on Late Night. What's this show called? Yeah, Late Night with Seth Meyers, who also had Quinta Brunson on, Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson's a great guest, by the way. I know she's been working the past couple of years. I know she's been working for, even though she's not in as much as the public eye, but she was just such a delight on that show. Same thing for Jamie Lee Curtis, who unfortunately, in her appearance on the Tonight Show, talked about how she discovered her neighborhood and home was burned down in the Palisades fire. And Jimmy led a great interview along with her. It's people often talk about how Jimmy's not a good host. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a good host for that show, trying to keep energy upbeat. If not, he's just a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? Surface level. And you can't afford, especially on Tonight Show, to get too deep in anything because you only have like 5 or 6 minutes. And I think he's a personable guy. Mikey Madison appeared as well. There's also this aerobic bit that Jamie Lee Curtis recreated. Pete Lee did some stand-up and was a guest, and Willie Geist appeared as well. Pam Anderson, Andrew Rannells. And Lil Baby performed a song from Wham! Go to listen to that album. It's the same Lil Baby songs that you've ever seen. Ben Stiller appeared on The Late Show to talk about Severance Season 2. There's so much Severance press this week, and I know this is not the Constitutional where I can talk about these things freely, but there's so much press that I thought it was coming out on Wednesday. But it's actually coming out on this Wednesday, the Wednesday after this episode. I thought it was coming out last week. Diane Morgan appeared, who is super popular. She plays a character named Philomena Kunk, and she does mockumentary shows. But I don't know who she was. I know who she is. I just don't know. It's not my thing. Tilda Swinton appeared. There was also a profile, if you're interested. Tilda Swinton, the CBS Sunday Mornings did a profile of her last week, and you learn a lot about her, and she's such a strange person. But you know what? I like it. I dig it. Isabella Rossellini, Alan Cumming, June Squibb. Now, we get into these last two shows. And although they're not on the same network, they do have two things in common. In that, one, they both shoot in LA. Two, they had to stop filming because of the LA fires. After Midnight, they were only able to do 2 episodes, I think. And then they had to stop. And of course, one of them featured Pete Holmes. I don't know why he's popping up on this show all the time. I think I had this thought when I was setting up this episode, preparing for this episode, in that I think that everybody that appeared on this show for those 2 episodes in that week that there were the fires, well, with the exception of Zach, because I know Zach lives in New York. Well, my theory was that they were all LA based because these fires were happening. Because I think one of them started as soon as January 6th. So anyway, I thought, they were going to get people who were local instead of flying them in or something like that, just in case they needed to do something like shut down. And then Anna Sawai popped up on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Kimmel basically for those 2 days that it was on covered the Golden Globes, and it was and Cher. He had an interview with Cher that I think people didn't like, but I thought it was fine. You get somebody like Cher, you're going to spend as much time with them and try to say as much as you can. And he spent a great 14 minutes with Cher. People don't understand. These shows are hard. And just because, Sheila E. performed with Gloria Estefan. I didn't watch this episode, so all I did was watch the Cher interview, and then I stopped. I didn't know Sheila E. and Gloria Estefan were there. I'll tell you how I watch. Hold on, let me finish my thought. These hosting a show is hard, and to do it 4 nights a week is even harder. And to only have a handful of time with somebody is harder than that. So you're going to ask dumb questions. You're going to ask fun questions. You're going to ask questions that try to skim past the surface, and questions that are service level. And also, Cher spent time spent like an hour and change with Howard Stern earlier that week. So it's the same thing. If you want more, go to people who have more time. Now, so anyway, what was I talking about? There's something I tabled. Oh, how I watch late night. I go through the monologue. I'll go through a desk bit, and then I'll do the first person. And if there's somebody in the second that interests me, then I'll do that. But I usually start with, at one point it was Conan, but Conan's no longer hosting. So now it is, if you're watching the video and you're wondering why this sleeve is so wide, it's because I cleaned the kitchen earlier, and I was cleaning that tiny, that Breville oven, the Air Fryer Pro oven, that oven thing. And I rolled up my sleeves to really dig deep. And this is a shirt that if you do that for 2 seconds, it just stretches out. The wrist collars is what I call them. Anyway, but I used to be Conan first. Now it goes Seth, Kimmel, and then everybody else just kind of falls into place. Depending on who's out on After Midnight, then that'll go next. Depending on who's on Tonight Show, that'll go next. Depending on who's on Colbert, that'll go next. And then if John Oliver's show is this week, then I'll watch that at some point. And then the Daily Show, that I would say Daily Show is third. I'll say Daily Show is third. I'll put that at third. Look at that. All right, now let's get to the fires. This comes from Variety, written by Kate Arthur and Michael Schneider. This happened January 8th at 10 a.m. local time. LA time. Jimmy Kimmel Live was canceled on Wednesday night because of the fires that have been going through Los Angeles since Tuesday. The guests for that night were supposed to be Cynthia Erivo, Brian Jordan Alvarez from English Teacher, and they also had to shut down on Thursday, which included guests like Timothée Chalamet and the Lumineers. CBS had canceled After Midnight tapings, and they aired repeats. I think both shows aired repeats. Wednesday's After Midnight episode was going to include Heather McMahon and Zach No Towers and Lisa Rinna. And Thursday's was going to include Dustin Nickerson, Russell Howard, and Aparna Nancherla. The fires really screwed up everything. I think for a lot of shows, like a lot of shows that shoot in LA just had to stop shooting because of the fires in Altadena and the Palisades and the hills and all that stuff. And it was they're still going on. It's very scary and concerning to see a lot of people be affected, lose their houses, lose their lives, lose their livelihoods, lose friends, lose families. Everything had to shut down. Premieres were stopped. But then, just a couple of minutes ago, in fact, last night, I guess. This comes from Deadline, written by Nelly Andriva. Jimmy Kimmel Live to resume tapings after midnight, and The Price is Right will remain dark. I believe I saw an article that also said other CBS shows will be coming back to shoot, like Matlock and Papa's House and things like that. Also, although I thought Matlock was in New York, but whatever. Maybe they do pickups here. All three, The Price is Right, After Midnight, Remain Dark, folks. Okay. Kimmel's expected to resume tapings today, and The Price is Right and After Midnight are paused at least through Tuesday for After Midnight in particular. I wonder where these stages were, because I don't have a map up. But how close was Kimmel? He shoots at the El Capitan, which is, I believe, close to the Chinese theater. Capitan. I wonder if the fires are on. Okay. I'll say Chinese theater. I spelled Chinese wrong. All right. Yes, because I know it's across from the Chinese theater. Okay, anyway. They don't have the fires up on. Yes, they do. Okay. Oh, okay. That makes sense. All right. So if you look at Google Maps, you can see that, well, A, you can see where the fires are. B, I have a lot of, I guess, restaurants saved. It must be from Doughboys. I have a crap ton of restaurants just saved in the Los Angeles area. Have I been to Los Angeles? No. Have I been out west? Twice. You can't guess where I've been. Musso and Frank's. Musso and Frank. I guess I saved that one too. I don't know. Oh, interesting. And Voodoo Donut. Yeah. Okay. How close was... So if I'm looking at the Chinese theater, I mean, the Palisades fire is right here, and then I see the Hearst fire and the Eaton fire. Now, where does After Midnight shoot? The Paramount lot. So I have to type in Paramount lot. That's how this works. And that's relatively, yeah, it's within spitting distance, if anything. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder if, well, also, I wonder, since they went dark, if people were paid. I would love for people to be paid while these things are, while things are going dark and shutting down. I wonder if any fires have affected, or anything, any natural disasters have affected late night tapings. I remember before you know, I think it was YouTube existed. Was it? Hold on. Let me do. Okay. There was an episode of. Oh yeah, here we go. It's an hour and 25. There's an episode in 2012, yes, of Letterman that took place during Hurricane Sandy, October 29th and October 30th. So those are 2 episodes. And I remember very specifically watching the October 29th episode with Denzel Washington and being like seeing that and going, whoa, this is crazy. There's no audience, and never seeing that before. You know, it's kind of like what we saw during the pandemic. I mean, I'm looking at this video right now, and it's just Letterman talking to his staff and getting some outlined. Like Biff is outside, standing in the rain, and there's also, it looks like Fallon did the same thing at one point. Okay, come on. Wow, does he have an audience? No audience. It feels very rock star-ish. I like it. I wish we would do more things like that. I mean, obviously, the fire is much more serious than the heavy rains that were happening in New York. But how many times has that happened? You know, the pandemic, Hurricane Sandy, now these fires, where things had to change because of the outside forces. If anything, the hurricane, you know, did show that hosts can do so, and the pandemic, hosts can do something different, and it's not drastically different, and it won't affect, you know, the bottom line or anything. But this stuff does not happen often. But I do wonder if people were paid. Okay, I have nothing else to talk about. Many can argue I had nothing to talk about here. Listen, if you like what you heard here, and I sincerely don't know why you would, head on over to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people, and it's much, much more fun. You can watch a video version of those chats, as well as video versions of this and the other podcasts LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs podcast, and the Constitutionals, which is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Subscribe to those shows wherever you get your you can youtube.com/cpluscomedy. Subscribe to those podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Facebook at cpluscomedy. Me on those platforms at Chad Blackwhite. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.